Good afternoon and welcome to the Professional Communication for the 21st Century lesson. My name is Niles Murata, and today we'll be talking about how to effectively use email and other electronic communications in the business, industry, and educational systems. So we'll get started. So what is communication? Well, after searching the internet and looking through business sites and also Webster's Dictionary, here are two of the most accurate definitions of communications I could come up with. First one is transmitting information and ideas and attitudes from one person to another. The process of meaningful interaction among human beings. So, does anybody have anything to add to this? So, what types of communications do we use in our daily business? Cell phones, texting, what else? Pretty much in today's society, with technology today, the cell phone is an invaluable piece of technological equipment. And what types of communications do we use in our personal dealings? Well, everyone uses texting, we use social networks, Facebook, YouTube. There are thousands and thousands of applications out there for communicating. So today what we're going to do is we will be discussing two methods out of the many to how to effectively use them in today's business world. So 21st century methods of communication. Well, here are four examples that we use most commonly in today's society. The first one, email. Email has several advantages and have made it a reality that has replaced several conventional forms of communication. It's a lot easier today for us to send an email or shoot somebody an email than it is to pick up the phone or sometimes even text message someone. You have text messaging and instant messaging. Instant messaging allows one-to-one interaction with people who are miles away. With the help of instant messengers like Windows Live Messenger, Skype Messenger, Gmail Chat, AOL Instant Messenger, we can directly send a message or chat with our colleagues, supervisors, and customers. Usually this service is free and cost-effective to the company. We have video chat. With the emergence of the web camera and Skype, we can now go face-to-face with people across the world from our company or even customers for communication. Social networks. This is a huge advancement in communicating in business and in our personal lives. Several advantages include it's open communication. It's a great way of meeting old friends. It's a platform for posting news and asking questions, sharing links, discussing ideas. Excellent way of promoting websites in your business. Social networking websites target a broad range of audiences, and that's why it's also considered to be an excellent business tool. These days it's possible to access social networking website accounts through your mobile phone, of course, and stay connected with family, friends, and colleagues throughout the entire day. And of course, these are just the four most popular examples. But as you can see, there are many, many more. So emerging technology is vitally important, with emerging technology, it's vitally important to know how to effectively communicate and use this technology. Effective communication eliminates the questions and confusions that cause project delays, assignments to be put off due to the need for further clarification. So we no longer have to wait for the Pony Express to bring us what our next step is, or waiting on a phone call, standing by a phone booth. Today we are instantaneously communicating with each other. When people communicate effectively in the office, employees can be more productive because they'll know what's expected of them the first time around. Effective communication enables managers to give understandable instructions to their teams which decreases the chance of there being mistakes made due to miscommunication. The U.S. Office of Personnel Management explains that effective communication is the cornerstone to satisfied customers. So if you can't communicate with your customers, you might as well pretty much not even be in business. The globalization process calls for effective communication because in many instances, employees will not converse or interact with people face to face, with the exception of what we saw earlier in the video chat, and even sometimes Facebook or other social networks. Global business rely on technology to provide communication tools such as email, texting, and the other examples that we had earlier. So let's talk about the effective use of email. The first thing is to know the core netiquette rules. And so what is netiquette? Well, if you go to netiquette.net, and I'll post that link here for you to write down in your notebooks, the netiquette is a way to, netiquette is the word net and etiquette tied together, and it's how there's a universal standard for using technology and communicating with colleagues and friends. So for email, here's some of the net etiquette core rules. Spell check. Misspellings always display unprofessionalism. As y'all know, as everyone must know here, I hope you all know this, that note at all caps indicate yelling. It's also unprofessional to send an email in all caps. Remember, emails are electronic fingerprints. Tell the truth. When you create an electronic footprint, that email is somewhere forever. Show your professionalism and be yourself. Do not send emails to people who do not need to receive them. That's considered flaming. What they call flaming. Don't send emails to everybody in your mailbox when you're asking two people a question or transferring information or whatever the case may be. Only send email to the person or persons that it applies to. Do not spam. Promoting personal business is inappropriate and sometimes illegal in some companies, and it also shows unprofessionalism. Express yourself with self-control and dignity. Be conservative. There's no reason to be rude, obnoxious, discourteous to anyone on email, especially in the business world. Do not send emails at night. Emailing at night puts unwanted burden on receivers because, especially if they're not in the working, say, for lack of a better term, the working mode, that puts pressure on your coworker, your colleague, to answer you right away. In an emergency, a phone call or maybe even a text message would be better. And use discretion. There should never be any personal information or personal attacks on email. The most important thing to remember with email is that there's an electronic footprint, and delete doesn't always mean delete. So let's continue with the effective use of email. Learn the fundamentals. Learn the fundamental netiquette. I can't express that enough. If you go to networketiquette.net, there is a myriad of tips and tricks and ideas of how to successfully send email professionally and courteously. So what is that? Let's talk a little bit about netiquette. Netiquette is the social code of network communication. The social code. The social and moral code of the internet based on the human condition and the golden rule of netiquette. A philosophy of effective internet communications that utilize common conventions and norms as a guide for rules and standards. Rules and standards. So there are hundreds of netiquette rules and standards, but we're going to cover the top 5. So number 1, imagine your message in a billboard for everybody to see. That's your email. Even though it may be addressed to one person, Imagine that it would be on a billboard, and who would you want and not want to see that email? Remember that company emails are company property. So whatever you write in an email belongs to the company from then on. Avoid offensive comments. That goes without saying. And keep your message cool. Remember, self-respect, dignity, and dignity in all your emails. And remember the person you're emailing also, too. Don't get caught up in emotion when you're sending an email. Send an email when you're calm and cool and collected, so you don't make the mistake of sending an unprofessional email. Emails can be easily misinterpreted. We don't have the tone of voice or body language it gives for further cues. Using multiple explanation points, emoticons, and words in all capital letters can be interpreted as emotional language. And before this, we covered not sending emails in all caps. Be careful about forwarding messages. You may forward a message that the person that sent you a message doesn't want forwarded. Or there may be information on an email that's for your eyes only. And even if the person doesn't say for your eyes only, you should consider that. You should probably ask if it's okay to forward the message to colleagues, supervisors, friends, families, or whatever, even in your personal life. If you're not the original sender, it's not a good idea to just forward messages without asking first. So are there any questions about effective email, using email effectively in the business world? Okay? So we'll move on to text messaging. So here's a few facts about text messaging. Text messaging is becoming a more popular way to communicate. And if you don't know that, then walk out here on the street and watch how many people are looking at their phones. A waiting room, the movie theater, sitting in class. How many people are thumbing on their phones? This method of communication is simple, efficient, and effective. Simple, efficient, and effective. Simple because it takes 2 thumbs. Efficient because it's almost instantaneous that the message is sent. And effective because it can get a message to someone really fast. But what's considered acceptable with texting to friends, remember this, is different than what's acceptable when texting business contacts. Just to give you an example, my first semester here at UNT, I had a professor who said she will not answer any emails that have buckwildboy32 at AOL.com or UNT.com. She also said she doesn't speak text language, so every word needed to be spelled out. No abbreviations, no emoticons, no faces with characters. So it's important to be able to distinguish when you text who you're texting. Okay, so let's cover some tips for using text messages effectively. Don't send a text unless it's urgent. That's okay, but if you ask somebody, they'll tell you that every text message they send is urgent. That's almost a given. Don't send a text message if you can send an email. Long text messages in the professional world are very annoying and very unprofessional. If you have multi-points to make to a colleague or a supervisor, it's best to send an email and not a text message. Don't send bad news over a text message. If you have bad news to share with people, give them a courtesy call. Give them a courtesy call. Emailing or texting bad news is a cop-out. Remember that. And don't assume people know all the acronyms in text message slang. Not everyone knows what TTYL means, talk to you later, or JK, just kidding. Say what you mean and make sure your message presents you as a business professional rather than a texting junkie. So that's the biggest thing that you need to remember is texting your friends is going to be very different than texting your in your professional life. Let's continue with some more tips on text messaging. Proof your message. Make sure you spelled all the words right, especially in the professional environment. I'm sure your friends don't care if you misspell a word. Matter of fact, when I misspell a word or autocorrect jumps in, it's usually a point of humor. But in the professional and business world, you should always proof your messages. Take a few extra seconds and make sure you don't have any misspellings or improper language. Get to the point. Since text messages are limited to a small number of words, get to the point in your message and keep it from spilling over into another message. If you have a lot to share, consider picking up the phone or sending an email. Remember what I said earlier about how much information are you trying to send to this person. Watch your tone. Make sure you pay close attention to the tone of your message. If you're upset about something, pick up the phone or call the person. Don't pick up the phone or call. Pick up the phone and call the person. Don't waste people's time. Don't send unnecessary text messages. As an example, when text conversation is clearly over, don't send another message. Once again, every text you send is likely to interrupt someone's activity, meeting, or training, or train of thought. But when your phone vibrates or your phone gives you the indication of there's a text message, in today's world, our instinct is to pick up the phone. If you're in a meeting, if you're in an important session in class, those things will happen. Show respect and courtesy. Whatever you do, consider how it affects those around you. Unless it's urgent, avoid sending text when you're spending time with people. One of the most annoying things and unprofessional things is for people to pull out their phones to read a text or send a text during an important meeting. And I've had that happen to me before. It's very annoying, and I feel it's totally disrespectful. This is the items that we have at hand, and this is where your mind should be. So one of the most important things I want to cover here close to the end of our lecture is the most important tip on texting, and that is never text while you're driving. While this seems like common sense, I'm shocked by the number of people I see sending messages in cars. Next to drunk drivers and distracted drivers are the second leading cause of fatal automobile accidents. 2010 experiment with Car and Driver magazine editor Eddie Alterman took place at a deserted airstrip showed that texting while driving had a greater impact on safety than driving drunk. Sending or receiving a text message, a driver takes his eyes off the road for 4.6 seconds, the equivalent of driving 55 miles an hour, the length of an entire football field blind. So think about that. And driving while using your cell phone reduces the amount of brain activity associated with driving by 37%. And needless to say, you can go on the internet and type in texting while driving, and there are a few not so pleasant pictures or graphics on the internet about texting and driving. And some states now it's against the law, and also they're working to make all 50 states, making it a law in all 50 states that texting while driving will be illegal. And it's just not very, very safe to do, and that text can probably wait. So in summary, what did we talk about? We talked about communication, what does it mean, the transmitting of information and ideas and attitudes, process of meaningful interaction. We talked about the methods of communication, and we covered two most important methods of communication in the 21st century with 21st century technology, which is email and text messaging. Part 2 of this video series will be video chat and social networking. We talked about the effective use of email and the effective use of text messaging. So there are any questions? So if there are no questions, this will conclude the 21st century communication, effective communication in the 21st century. Thank you for attending, and have a great day.